Welcome to your city council meeting. And I just hope the city council, every meeting, we're set out here in this beautiful setting in the McDowell Mountains in the back and with a 30-minute horseback ride first. This is really a great day, and thanks for being here. Our McDowell Mountains are truly, truly special. I'd ask for a roll call first before we go any further.
Mayor Herbert Drinkwater.
Present.
Vice Mayor Manross. Councilman Gregory Bielli.
Here.
James Burke.
Here.
Robert Pettigrew.
Here.
Don Pryor.
Here.
Richard Thomas.
Here.
City Manager Richard Bowers.
Here.
Tonight's council meeting is truly set against an appropriate backdrop when you consider what we're going to do this evening. Our beautiful McDowell Mountains, beautiful Sonoran Desert. It marks the first time ever that I know of that we have had a city council meeting anywhere except at City Hall. However, this evening's agenda presented us with an opportunity to do something special in recognition of this important first step in the preservation of the McDowell Mountains and the surrounding Sonoran Desert, the creation of the McDowell Sonoran Preserve.
It is the Sonoran Desert that has brought many of us here. It is a very special and rare habitat. And the geography and the geology, the archaeology, the diversity of plants and animals, mammals and lizards, it's a phenomenal place.
We would have family picnics up at Brown's Ranch. That would be what we would do for people's birthdays in the family, is we'd all hop in the VW bus and we would go up to Brown's Ranch and have either a camp out or just a cookout. And I know that there's a lot of people who live in South Scottsdale who've grown up here and whose families grew up here, who have the same memories of the mountains being where you would go have your grand adventures.
God created the world, and there's a special part in Scottsdale that He wants people to respect.
And it just struck terror in my heart, because the first thing I thought of, and it was a lot of what drove me and many other people, was we can't let what happened to the boulders happen to the McDowell Mountains. We can't let this natural treasure be locked behind gates and belong only to the privileged few who can afford to live there or have a country club membership. Now, nothing against the people who do live in those places, but there are certain places in this world that are so beautiful and so special and such natural treasures that they should belong to the public.
There was talk about McDowell Mountain Ranch. You know, it was going through the planning process. So after the planning process, when there's a market, it's going to be built. There was talk about what today is DC Ranch, you know, the Corrigan Marley family, thinking it's about time we don't do any more ranching, maybe we develop.
So in probing, we found out that the city said anything under 6 feet in height can be bulldozed. I want every person to go out into the desert with a 6-foot pole in their hand and look around. And of course, that's just total devastation. And so this is what got us moving on educating the city of what they were losing.
Decisions were being made in the late 80s, early 90s about developments that wouldn't happen for 5, sometimes 10 years, that would develop those mountains, that would develop the desert around it. And it was really hard to get the public to wake up and say, you have to pay attention to this now. Because if this decision's made now, you can't change it in the future when you see the bulldozers digging into the mountains.
The reason that we are all here is adopt resolution number 4103 proclaiming the establishment of a McDowell Sonoran Preserve. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. We have, with that motion, established the McDowell Sonoran Preserve. First part of it. It's a special moment in the history of this great city.
We all know the proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Well, our journey is to preserve roughly 31 square miles of McDowell Mountains and adjoining Sonoran Desert, and it begins with the 4.5 miles we're going to dedicate tonight. But it's going to take all of the community working together to achieve the other steps.
Hi, I'm Herb Drinkwater, Mayor of the City of Scottsdale, and I'm standing in the McDowell Mountains, the most beautiful range of mountains in the entire state of Arizona, and Scottsdale's most precious resource, enjoyed by all of us here in the valley. That's why the City of Scottsdale pledges to support and help the McDowell Sonoran Land Trust. We want to keep these mountains from being built upon and protect them for future generations. We need your help, and I ask you please support us in this worthwhile endeavor. Thank you very, very much.
There was a task force appointed by the mayor and city council to look at the feasibility of going to the citizens with that ballot. And the support was there across the city, north, south, east, west, and adjoining communities. The real focus got to be on the finances and the size.
At this point, we were talking about just the McDowell Mountains, but as the price tag started to come in, upwards of sometimes $500 million, no one really knew how much it was going to cost, that we realized we needed to raise some money. So part of it was raising money, but part of it was raising awareness.
The commission looked at all funding options and really came down to the sales tax option.
Some of the old pundits said, I don't think this is going to work. You know, the whole country is talking about reduced taxes, and you all in a conservative community are talking about raising taxes.
Chet and Greg started the hiking program, which I swear to this day is one of the best sales tools ever, because once you take people up in these mountains, up in this desert, they fall in love, and ultimately they're a yes vote. The hiking program still exists to this day. It's taken thousands and thousands of people, but it was our earliest sales tool. The second sales tool was to reach out to the children, because the children are the future, and we have to think about not just the votes now, but how do we help everybody in our city feel ownership about what will become this preserve.
Hi, I'm Chet Andrews from the McDowell Sonoran Land Trust. My friends and I have hiked in here today from about 4 miles southeast of here, and this is one of our favorite places to stop for lunch because it's so pleasant under the mesquite trees and with the shady brook behind here. Actually, we've come in to visit today with the Parks Department to see what they're planning to do with this area, because we're very interested in preserving the mountains and also making the mountains accessible to the public.
We're standing in the approximate center of the city of Scottsdale's mountain park. We have approximately 2 sections in here. This park, we have plans for having it as a destination area. There are lots of things to see out here. It's very remote.
We were sitting down with the editorial board of the Arizona Republic, which was the big newspaper. They were going through all the things we've done, and one of them just turned to me, this editor, and said, Carla, you have made this issue a McDonald's Happy Meal. Every kid goes home and says, Mommy, Daddy, I want one.
Early on, there were definitely the cactus huggers. There were the hikers and the mountaineers. There were the businessmen and businesswomen who also saw the economic impact. We also then very quickly started to embrace the tourism and hospitality and hotelier industry. The resorts in particular were hugely supportive.
That was when people were waking up to the fact that you have to bring some controls and to do something positive for your city. And that was extremely important. And people just knew that this was the right thing to do.
I'll never forget election night, because back then we were allowed to have one person at Election Central where the votes were actually coming in, and you got the numbers first, and I was that person and was on the cell phone calling all the folks who were up at the big party at the Hyatt Regency, and it was just amazing. It was just amazing when the numbers started coming in and we realized we were going to win this. It was amazing.
The McDowell Mountains is one of our greatest treasures, and we are handing this down to future generations. That's what we're doing here today, and these are one of the few great things in life we get to do.
Today's a real tribute, the anniversary, to the entire citizens of Scottsdale and all those who voted in the election, as well as the mayor and the city council and the people throughout the valley who celebrate today the first anniversary, our first acquisitions that we're purchasing. And this is the first anniversary, and what we're really looking forward to is the 25th anniversary and the progress we've made, the 50th anniversary, and the legacy that we're leaving to all the future generations of Scottsdale.
It's just a step in the right direction. Finally, we're doing something very positive for everyone who lives in this city. And it is the most wonderful thing to be able to have mountains and deserts set aside so the citizens can be a part of it and to enjoy the beauty that's around them.
Soon after the ballot measure passed, some on council said that's not enough, and the support that citizens showed suggests that people get it, and this is important to them. Another task force, just like the McDowell Mountains task force, was appointed by the city council, same type of charge, looked for, we've defined land in the mountains we want to save, look at the rest of the community and see what else needs to be saved.
One of the surprises is that we have taken the preserve back to the voters five times, I believe, whether it was the original sales tax or it was the bonding capability or expansion of the boundary or another sales tax, and overwhelmingly supported by this community.
Some things are invaluable. You protect them regardless of the price. And thank goodness our community believed that and felt we're not going to let our entire beautiful Sonoran Desert and mountains go to the highest bidder. Once they do that, once they're gone forever.
I don't think it would have been a success if a planner would have thought, we need to save those mountains as part of our land use plan. It was citizens that made it happen.
It was an amazing group because when all was said and done, and in the end, we came together in consensus.
I don't think we ever dreamed that we would be able to push things as far as they went, and that, and you couldn't help but be thrilled with every new thing that was accomplished, because it was important to the people.
What matters is 100 years from now, you know, you have some 8, 9-year-old kid like I was who gets to go up to Cathedral Rock and sit there and go and realize, you know, just realize this is the same place that Native peoples, you know, hundreds, thousands of years ago, that you're in the same place they were. And you're touching the same rock they were, and you're learning from this land, you're experiencing its beauty, you're seeing the wildlife, and you're falling in love with it, and getting to enjoy it and be part of it, just like they were, and that's what matters.
25 years from now, no one will ask us whether our stewardship was easy. We didn't undertake this with the notion that it would be easy. We undertook it with the notion that it was necessary. 25 years from now, we will either be an even greater desert city, or we will not be a great city at all.